how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at the TV show Monsters. This ran for 72 episodes across 3 seasons from October 22nd, 1988 to April 26, 1991. The show was created by Richard P. Rubenstein and Mitchell Galin. Now, if you guys have watched this channel, you may know that I've recently watched and reviewed every single episode of this show. I had a really good time with it, but I figured to wrap things up for now, I should make a little video talking about the show as a whole and just kind of put my general ideas out there really quick. The basic idea with this show is it's an anthology horror TV series, and a lot of the people that worked on this had previously worked on Tales from the Dark Side, and in turn this series kind of feels like a sequel series. If you guys like Dark Side and want some more of that, this is a little bit cheaper and a little bit more on the campier side, but it still is a really fun classic anthology horror series. It has a lot of stuff that you really love from anthology horror, going into a totally new situation with new characters and not knowing what kind of episode it's going to be right away, and you get a lot of different stuff in here. You get chilling and creepy episodes, you get sci-fi episodes, you get episodes inspired by film noir, and yes, you get comedy episodes, and yeah, like with Dark Side, sometimes the comedy episodes don't land, but you know, sometimes they do. And also, with anthology horror, it can get tropey sometimes, not gonna lie, but I know some people really find comfort in the tropes. The rich old jerk that's going to get his comeuppance, the deal that's too good to be true, or of course, the creepy legend that no one thinks is real. Of course, that's going to be real. And while, yeah, sometimes the tropes would be a little bit on the nose, I did like how inventive and different this series can be. And the key reason why it's so different is in the title. This show's called Monsters, so the gimmick with this show is that every episode you're going to get some sort of monster. And I really like the variety in the monsters. You get characters like Glim Glim, who feels like an old-timey 1950s sci-fi alien. You get a stop-motion spider in one episode. You get a handful of weird little characters made through puppetry. In one episode, the monsters literally nightmares themselves. So yeah, there's a lot of fun variety, and that was one element I really loved about the show, is going in and going, okay, what kind of monster are we gonna get this week? Is it going to be one of the classic monsters or something more obscure? Is it going to be in your face from the beginning, or is it going to be hidden at the end? And I will say, a lot of them are hidden at the end. You look up the show online and you'll see a bunch of pictures of all these really cool, weird little monsters, and a lot of times that will be like at the end of the episode and you're like, oh, that's where that picture came from. But there are some really good, dark and disturbing twists. Every now and then, the monster will be like something out of left field at the end of the episode, and it leaves you going, whoa, that's an image I'll never forget. But that's also a little bit of a problem sometimes. Sometimes with monsters, you get a bunch of human characters and they're doing a pretty good human drama, but then you'll remember, oh yeah, I'm watching Monsters, okay, where would a monster pop into this plot? And so yeah, sometimes that does ruin the surprise, so I would advise being excited for the monsters, but maybe don't always try to figure it out beforehand, because yeah, sometimes the title here does ruin the twist. And the show also works pretty well within its budget. It's something that Dark Side did as well, and they learned and continued in this series. A lot of these episodes you only get a handful of characters, and usually they're only in 2 different sets, but a lot of the times the episodes are written pretty smartly. But yeah, if you're looking, you can definitely see the budget, and this was well before TV shows were getting $1 million an episode, and I can really applaud the creativity given what they had to work with. Yeah, sometimes the monsters in the show don't have the best effects, but a lot of times they pull off more than you think they could given an old 80s TV budget. So yeah, it's there, it's noticeable, but they do a good job working around it. But I think a good way to kind of explain how the series is to look at the first 2 episodes. In the first episode, the Fever Man, there's this faith healer, and you get this guy whose daughter's dying, and he says, I can help her, but it's a terrible and dangerous process. And you also get this character, the doctor, who's always doubting and saying, oh, this is just a sham. And the thing with the Fever Man is you kind of know, based on anthology horror tropes, where it's going. Of course, the monster's going to be real, and of course the guy isn't a fake. Magic's going to be real. But when you see the monster in the Fever Man, it actually is a really cool monster design. Not my favorite, but it is inspired. So why the Fever Man's not bad, it is pretty tropey and it's not the best. And honestly, I wish it hadn't have been the first episode of the series because it's not putting your best foot forward, but it's a totally okay, relatively standard anthology horror episode, and that will be what a lot of the middle grade episodes are for this show. But then right after the Fever Man, you get season 1 episode 2, and that one's entitled Holly's House. And in Holly's House, you get an animatronic on a kids TV show coming to life. It's like Five Nights at Freddy's before that was even a thing. And Holly is a really cool, creepy animatronic, but plus we also have the idea that she's jealous because her creator is having a baby, and the metaphorical baby is losing attention to the real baby. So there's a good metaphor there. And in turn, Holly's House, you get a good classic monster and a story that has a deeper meaning. It really steps up its game and really should have been the first episode of the series. So watching these two back to back, it really does give you an example of the show's common range. You know, you get a lot of stuff that's, you know, standard, not bad anthology horror, but then quite a lot of the time, the show will hit it out of the park and you'll get a cool monster and a really cool story. And quick overview of the seasons. We have 3 seasons here. Season 1 is right now the most accessible. It's streaming on a lot of different places, and season 1's pretty good. You get a few classic episodes in there. Season 2, the show does lose steam a little bit, and we do get a lot more B-sides in season 2. Not bad by any means, but it does slow down a little. But then season 3 really hits it out of the park. Several classic episodes, a bunch of guest stars and writers. Season 3 has John Saxon, Pam Grier, Matt LeBlanc, Will Whedon, and also a Stephen King episode. So yeah, if season 2 kind of slows down a little for you, just please stick it out for 3, because 3 it really does turn around and get really good again. So all that being said, Monsters is a really fun show. The quite literal monster of the week formula really keeps the show fresh and lively, and I did like how experimental and different the episodes could be, and why sometimes a show could be a little flat and tropey and sometimes it would fall into budgetary issues. I did like how in general it worked out pretty well, and for a show that's a bit of cheap 80s television, it pulled off a little more than you might suspect. So overall, I definitely would recommend this show, and if you guys would like a bit of episode recommendations, I'll put in the cards my top 10 episodes list if you guys want to see the ones that I think are the best, but that's by no means a complete list of the good episodes because, you know, you got 72 in here. There's quite a lot to look at. And you know what? Feel free to leave your favorites down in the comments if you want. Anyway though, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Monsters playlist, and as I said at the top of the episode, I've watched and reviewed every single episode, so you should be able to find all of them in there, as well as the top 10 and the individual season reviews. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.